Josh Christopher is becoming too great to ignore.
Christopher, heat check. I don't know if it's hot outside on the rim or inside.
Go get it.
So as I'm sure you're aware, Josh Christopher has been balling in the Summer League. And if you're not aware, then where the hell you been at?
Tried to make a step back, hand in his face, and he still hits it.
But I've been posting a lot of these breakdown videos kind of talking about some of these Heat prospects. So I needed to get a Josh Christopher video out because half of my comments recently have been, cut Drew Smith, sign Josh Christopher. So I kind of wanted to post his breakdowns to talk about where he came from because he is a bit of a different prospect. He actually has quite a bit of NBA experience. So I wanted to give you guys some background on him and also what I think he could bring to this Miami Heat team. So Josh Christopher is 22 years old, so he's still a kid, which is crazy for me to say. Like, I'm at the stage of life now where I'm realizing I'm watching guys who are younger than me and sometimes talking trash about kids who are younger than me, which does sound kind of messed up, so maybe I should ease up on some guys. But anyways, he's 22 years old, measured at 6'5" and 215 pounds, so has decent height, not the biggest frame, but he's not wiry by any means. He still is very aggressive when attacking the basket, which is also special because he's also, he's kind of known as like a knockdown shooter. Usually those guys don't like to get physical in the paint, but Josh Christopher does not shy away from contact. So although he's only 215 pounds, he's young, has time to build more muscle onto his frame, but he also is relentless attacking the basket, getting rebounds, things like that. So I do think he has some pretty decent NBA size. He played 1 year at Arizona State, which was only 15 games, surprisingly. And in those 15 games, he averaged 14 points a night on a subpar 43% from the field and not so great 31% from three, and that was on 4 attempts a night. But the Houston Rockets saw enough offensive and defensive versatility to draft him in the first round, 24th overall in 2021. The problem is, though, he was actually Houston's 4th first-round pick that same year. He was the 4th guy taken. So obviously, Houston had a lot invested into the guys taken ahead of him because the first one was Jalen Green, who they took number 2 overall. Obviously, that's a shooting guard, same position as Josh Christopher, so we know how much the Rockets had invested in him. After that, they traded with OKC to get Alperen Şengün at 16, and we know what Şengün has become. And then a couple picks before Christopher, the Rockets took Osman Garuba. So it's clear they had a lot invested in some other guys. And for that reason, I don't think Josh Christopher was really given a full opportunity to showcase what he can do. And now that he's getting a chance to actually play, we're seeing that boy is capable of some pretty special things. But I don't want to make it seem like the Rockets didn't value him. Obviously, they thought he could be a bucket. That's why they did spend a first-round pick on him. There was just some questions about his shot selection and overall IQ, as Jay Billis said here during the draft.
So he's got good shooting mechanics, and he's going to get better as a shooter. He just needs to take better shots, but a very talented player playing out of Arizona State.
But if you look at Josh's rookie season, he did play 74 games, was able to start a couple of them, but only played 18 minutes a night, so it wasn't a huge part of the rotation. And in those 18 minutes, he averaged 8 points per game on 45% from the field and just under 30% from three. And then in his sophomore season, he played even less, only 64 games for him, down to 12 minutes a night, in which he averaged 6 points per game, 46% from the field, and a not so great 24% from three. But everything happens for a reason, right? Because Josh Christopher was then sent down to the G League, spent 1 season there, which was last year, split his time between Salt Lake City and, of course, the Sioux Falls Skyforce. And in 18 games with the Skyforce, he averaged 16 points a night, 44% from the field, and again, a below average 32% from three. So he showed that he has an ability to score. The efficiency is just something that's still needed improved upon. So those are just kind of the numbers, but I kind of want to expound upon the versatility of his scoring. So you can see in these highlights as I'm talking that he truly is a very dynamic bucket getter, 3-level scorer, plenty of highlights, hitting from beyond the arc, getting to the mid-range, getting to the rim, in which he's able to finish with both the left hand and the right hand. As far as shooting, he does a lot of on-ball work, some off-ball work, curling off screens. So there's a lot of variety there, which I think shows that he can be an NBA level scorer. He's just the guy that is very streaky at this point. Did have one 40 bomb with the Sioux Falls Skyforce. Obviously, he got pretty hot there. He has multiple 20-point games in the NBA. So he actually has gotten buckets on the bigger level, not just in the G League and in the Summer League. And he does have one 30-point game versus the Timberwolves. And you can see in these finishes, he's a streaky sort of shooter. As someone who's not a Rockets fan and just, casually knows of Josh Christopher over the last couple seasons, I thought a pretty good comparison for him was Tim Hardaway Jr., a guy that can sort of be just a streaky shooter, and he's great when he's great, not so great when he's bad. But overseeing him in the Summer League, I realized that he's much more athletic than a Tim Hardaway Jr. Of course, I love my guy Timmy, shout out to his pops and everything. But Josh Christopher is just a way more dynamic player than Tim Hardaway Jr. When you talk about the athleticism alone, a couple of monster slams in his past game versus OKC in the Summer League, both of them in the fourth quarter. Like I was saying earlier, not afraid to shy away from contact. Has some great, fast break dunks earlier in the Summer League when the Heat were playing in California. So that is something that I do think can help set him apart. But regardless, we know he can score. That's why the Rockets took him overall. The issue was always the efficiency and the shot selection, as Jay Billis said when he was drafted. And I do think that we're starting to see some improvement in that area. If you look at some of his highlights from that monster fourth quarter he had versus OKC, the first three that he hit to kind of get him going was when his defender went under a screen. Josh recognized that, used the screen perfectly, timed it with good execution there, and pulled the three immediately. And then once he kind of felt himself going, the next possession, the defense went over the screen, but Josh had two quick release, was able to get the shot off, and from there, he knew that he was feeling himself. Didn't settle for only taking threes in that quarter. The one dunk he had, it was sort of in transition instead of sitting in the corner like a lot of younger players will do nowadays because they say Steph Curry ruined the game. You know how it goes. He cuts to the basket, sees that there's an entire lane open there, and is able to grab the ball and basically with straight vert, posterize the guy. So it's a short sample size in Summer League, but I do think we're starting to see some of that improved IQ on the offensive end. And keep in mind, it's not surprising that he's improving, right? The kid was a literal kid when he was drafted. He was 19 years old, so you can only expect that if a guy wants to work hard, he will improve upon his weaknesses as he gets older. And he certainly seems like a guy who wants to work hard based off the story that Udonis Haslem told a couple of Summer League games ago. So if you didn't hear the story, basically how it goes is UD said that Josh Christopher reached out to him. He said that Josh was like, hey, I don't like the way my career is going. I kind of need that Heat culture and that discipline to get back on track. Can you put a word in with the Heat front office to get me in your organization? Because that is the kind of discipline that I think I need. And obviously, because of that, Christopher was able to make himself over to the Sioux Falls Skyforce and eventually in the Summer League. And we see things are working out pretty well so far. But that's just an awesome story because for a kid like that to see his career is not going the way he wants it to go and knows out of all the things he heard about Miami and heard about Heat culture, everyone knows Heat culture is not for everybody. It's been said by dozens of players. It's a known thing. So for him to say, hey, I'm willing to put into the work, get me in that organization, and I will prove everyone that doubted me wrong. I will prove that I belong here. That's something that I respect the hell out of because he knew what he was getting himself into. And so far, the hard work is paying off. And that is just a beautiful thing. That being said, we've only really talked about his offensive side of things. And if he wants to fit into Heat culture, he has to play defense. And I have been more than impressed with the kind of defensive tenacity he's played with in Summer League so far. He's been hounding guys, picking up full court press, putting tons of ball pressure on whoever he's guarding, not giving up any mental lapses on the defensive end. And it's clear as day to anyone watching, he plays with a lot of heart on that side of the ball. And truthfully, before I started researching for this video, I assumed that was something new because I said, okay, this guy's an offensive scorer. Maybe he didn't try that hard on the defensive end, and that's why he kind of fell out of the ranks in Houston over there. But, I mean, I looked up some defensive highlights. He was a dog on defense in college. He was a dog on defense in Summer League for the Houston Rockets. So I think he always had this kind of heart and tenacity instilled in him. He was just never really given a chance in the situation that he was drafted to. And that's fine. We see guys all the time who are drafted into a situation that is just not meant for them. And sometimes we think that player's ass just for them to go to another team a couple years later, they really start to shine. And you start to kind of realize maybe some organizations aren't as good as others when it comes to player development and that sort of thing. But not to throw the Rockets under the bus, because obviously they have a lot of nice young players over there as well. It's just possible it wasn't a great fit for Christopher. And even if it was, it's possible that he was just 19 and not ready to play on an NBA stage yet. But he's had 3 years to train and develop since then, and now we're seeing him in this Heat program really do special things, and I'm excited to see it continue. Now, of course, that's unless another team poaches him, because he's currently not on any sort of official or standard or two-way contract with the Miami Heat, so he kind of is free for the taking at this point. So that brings me back to all the comments that I referenced earlier about people wanting Drew Smith gone. Obviously, I agree. I mean, even if the Heat really think that he's that prototypical point guard that they've been searching for forever, which is stupid because you got Zion pulling, you got Isaiah Stevens, those guys can play point guard. Drew Smith, there's a big question mark there. I'll say that. But even if the Heat really believe in Drew Smith, he's hurt. He can't even play in the Summer League right now. So how is he on a roster when you got guys like Alondes Williams and Cole Swider and the topic of this video, Josh Christopher, being this great, excelling, proving themselves that they're on a different level than the rest of the competition? How they're not on the roster over Drew Smith, I can't understand that. I will say, though, I kind of prefer that Drew Smith's spot goes to Isaiah Stevens. I'm still a little confused on his contract, by the way, because Stevens is on an Exhibit 10 contract, but I think that's like a non-guaranteed training camp deal, so I don't believe he has like an official roster spot guaranteed. Therefore, if he wants one, he would need to be on a two-way, and I personally would rather favor the facilitator type, because I don't really think the Heat have a true facilitator, a true point guard at all, and certainly no one to run a second bench unit, and I do think Isaiah Stevens could be pretty great at that. Obviously, Josh Christopher has shown that he can be an exceptional scorer, but if you look at the Heat's guards, Terry Rozier, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, those are already all kind of guys that get buckets. And for that reason, I don't think the Heat are looking for another one of those. That's why they rescinded qualifying offers from Cole Swider and Alondes Williams. And I'm not so confident that they're going to give Josh Christopher an official offer. Best case scenario, the Heat find some way to move off of Thomas Bryant, even though they just signed him and they can't trade him. Or they move off of Tyler Hero, even though nobody wants to trade for him. But I just wish the Heat could find some sort of way to open up some cap space or a roster spot, because maybe they can move Keshad Johnson up to a standard deal, get Josh Christopher or Isaiah Stevens on a two-way. I hope there's some sort of maneuvers they can make to allow this all to work. Maybe it's something they do later in the season before the trade deadline, when a guy's prorated salary is less than, you know, the space they have to the second apron. Because right now, they're like less than $2 million from that second apron, which they can. You don't want to be in that second apron, trust me. And that's why they can't sign anyone, because even a minimum contract puts them over that second apron. But again, maybe in the middle of the season, they can get one of these guys in there. You just hope that a guy like Josh Christopher isn't poached by another team by then. But that's all I got to say for this video. So let me know y'all thoughts on Josh Christopher down below. Would you want to see him take Zion Pullin's spot? Maybe you wish they never signed Pallel Larson and they could have had him instead. Let me know y'all thoughts down below. I'll be sure to read every single comment. Make sure to like the video and subscribe, because I'm on a grind to hit 10K subs by the end of 2024, let's say. Why not? Let's shoot for something crazy. I don't know. I can't do it without the help of all of y'all. I appreciate y'all a ton. I'll see y'all with a post game probably tomorrow. The Heat play the Mavericks. So hopefully Josh Christopher goes off again, and then everyone's on YouTube searching Josh Christopher Miami Heat, and then this video comes up, because if this video does really well, that'll be pretty cool. I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.
Look, pull up in your city, tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.